Welcome to the Amenities Committee meeting on Tuesday, the 3rd of October. It's 6 o'clock. Slightly past 6 o'clock. Item 328. Does anybody have any declarations of any disclosable pecuniary interests, please? None. Just for transparency, item 337, small grants. I don't have a financial interest in Charles Borough Centre, but I am chair of the board. And so on that basis, I won't vote on that item.
I'm on the board as well, so I've been non-pecuniary, I mean. Yeah. Isn't it?
Yeah.
So I'm saying no.
If you could just make a note for the minutes, Karen, that I think it's important that that's declared. Do we have any apologies for absence, please?
Apologies from Councillor Jefferson.
Lovely, thank you. And I think everybody else is here. We're feeling full house. Item 330, the minutes from the meeting, which by all accounts was very good, chaired by Hazel. Thank you, Hazel, for sharing that. Those of you that were here, not me, I was somewhere in the middle of the sea. Are you all content that they're a true record? Do I sign those, Karen, or does Hazel?
You signed.
I sign them. Okay, just checking. 331, review of the Amenities Committee terms of reference. Alan done a sterling job collating these and sent them out with your packs. They're mainly the previous amenities terms of reference and the cemeteries combined. Is that right?
They are, and then we've just improved it because, for example, the previous terms of reference improved the small grant policy because the open space policy, we wouldn't approve the small grants. It's just to get consistencies in terms of what the committees do. And I've just improved it, for example, the activities upgraded for what the former amenities, land and property committee, which is what these were primarily based on, just updated them to take that into account. The amenities committee does.
Okay. Does anybody have any comments or questions on the terms of reference? No. Ordinarily, these go to full council for approval, don't they? So we'll need a proposer and a seconder. Proposed by Chris, seconded by Mark Brindle. All in favour? Agreed. Thank you very much. 332, Town Team Manager's Report. Welcome, Nick. Thank you very much for your report.
Yep. Okay. So the team during the month of September have been carrying out a range of tasks to the town council assets. These have included the maintenance and cleaning of street furniture, maintenance of play parks, as well as working alongside and reporting any issues under Breckland and Norfolk County Council ownerships. Correspondence with other councils we've had recently. So Norfolk County Council were contacted following the last amenities meeting in regards to issuing a licence for the town team to undertake the cleansing schedule on the underpass at Ministergate. That's going to be a monthly clean. Following method statements, risk assessments and numerous phone calls and emails, I can now confirm that we have received permissions granted for the town team to proceed with the monthly cleaning of the underpass. And this will be scheduled in for this month. This will be carried out in partnership alongside Breckland Council and also Serco, who has also confirmed today that they'll be carrying out a weekly clean of the underpasses around the town. So the team will work alongside them each month, providing the extra clean and support. More urgent phone calls and emails were submitted again to Norfolk County Council to rectify the issues to the street bollards that's been ongoing for quite some time on the entry into King Street. This has now resulted in the head of highways and our local new engineer confirming that the highways will be replacing the bollards needed to stop vehicles driving into the pedestrianised zones and causing health and safety issues that have been ongoing. Requests were recently once again made to County Council Highways to confirm the proof of ownership and licences for the hanging basket columns and heritage lampposts around the town. Once ownerships have been confirmed, we can then put together a plan of action to see how these can be refurbished and refreshed in the near future going forward, as a lot of these are now in need of refreshing. Reports were also made to Breckland District Council regarding recent fallen trees and to look at the safety of these. All trees that were reported at Breckland Council-owned land have now confirmed that their contractors are currently looking into these. These were mainly on the Spring Walks area and also down by the old swimming pools down by the Nuns Bridges. Further correspondence again was recently made to Breckland and Serco regarding the waste that is collected from the town's litter bins and what happens to the waste. We've asked if there are any provisions being made for future recycling and showing as local authorities we're responsible in doing this. They've come back with a reply, Breckland. We currently dispose of all the waste from the litter bins as general waste. There are some bins that separate the general from the recycling. However, these are heavily contaminated and therefore it is unfortunately that all this ends up being disposed of together as general waste. The waste goes to an energy from waste facility, so it does not get disposed of as landfill. We can look at, however, if we would install these bins and do not have the resources to help with the education side, maybe this could be something we could look at in partnership with. Further emails were sent in regards of storage assistance for our local river group to see if we can get some locations agreed alongside Breckland and Keystone. Correspondence has been sent. Breckland have come back and said that unfortunately they're unable to help us and support the storage facility. Keystone, I still haven't had any correspondence from, but I'll continue to work alongside the team in trying to locate a suitable area that we can help support the group further. Contact again was made to Breckland to see if they would look at the granting of permissions needed as previously processed for their amenity land for bulb planting going forward. So we used to do autumn bulb planting. We've asked if we can look at getting permissions and licenses granted. This would then allow the team, along with the community volunteers, to plant spring bulbs through the kind gesture of Councillor Jeremy's highways allocated budget that he's offered in purchasing the bulbs to help brighten up some of the open spaces with a splash of colour before the grass cutting season begins in spring. Breckland came back with a response and have made a proposal for the Town Council and the Amenities Committee to consider if Thetford Town Council would like to explore the opportunities of purchasing these areas of land for projects. They would offer and prefer to sell the land, transfer ownerships and allow licences to be granted for anything to happen on these areas going forward. The land would be sold for a nominal fee, and this would also include all the land previously inquired and explored for the pocket parks previously proposed to Breckland. And there's a few locations there where we proposed previously for pocket parks to be looked into. Street furniture, the team have continued to clean and wash, remove graffiti from the town street furniture and play parks, notice boards, public toilets as part of the regular weekly cleaning schedules. This has seen further assets around the town centre, estates and play parks continue to be clean for the public and visitors to enjoy. We also continue to work alongside Breckland and Serco in trying to encourage them to do the same on their owned assets that they own around the public areas. Allotment sites, the team have recently been working again on allotment sites on the pathways, trying to clear some of those where the vegetation has been coming over from boundary fences. And this has allowed obviously clear access for the allotment holders to get into the plots more easily on different sites around the town. The play parks, the town team have recently assisted the contractors on the recent major refurbishment works carried out at Castle Park play area to help keep costs down as low as possible. This has seen the team involved in taking on some of the groundworks needed following the main repair works carried out to replace the bark chip mulch and rotten wooden edging. The team removed the concrete from the ground that was uncovered from previous works and then carried out the resoiling and turfing to help improve and finish off the project and allow the area to be completed and enjoyed for the town. There's quite a few pictures there just showing you some of the projects that they've been doing at the Castle Park. Other play area refurbishments works that were carried out through the month of September include Main Street, Bergamont Play Area, Castle Park and Pine Close. And these were a mixture of gates, surfacing and a few pieces of equipment. Ford Meadow and Gentles Bridge, the town team recently carried out the trimming back of the pathways on overhanging trees and shrubbery as you go through to Ford Meadow and also along the bridge as well to sort of give it clear access for the public. Ford Meadow has recently been cut by our source contractor that managed to save around about 4,500 from the original quote for the land management. So this has now been mechanically cut by traditional methods, and this is now being followed up by the baling, and then it will be the removal of the hay from site in due course when the weather allows. There's a few pictures again of the processes that has happened down there. It's been quite a bit of a job. Grazing estates, talks and research are continuing with both Norfolk Wildlife Trust and our management plan advisors to seek contacts with potential conservation graziers going forward for 2024 season. Town floral displays, the team have continued to work on the flower beds and planters alongside our contractors. We were delighted to hear the news that Thetford was awarded a silver, and the team are already gearing up and looking to refresh the summer displays with the autumn and winter colour in the coming weeks. The hanging baskets have now started to fade, and a date has now been confirmed alongside our contractors of the week commencing the 13th of October for these to be taken down and composted. The drinking fountain on the marketplace, so work was being recently completed on the horse trough on the marketplace, the granite horse trough. So we've been sort of working on that project. It's been ongoing for a little while, but we managed to source some contractors that helped us work alongside, and that's nearly completed. Other town tasks the team have been working on is replacing the missing and rotten posts to both Melford Common and Castle Park. These will also be coated shortly with environmentally friendly preservative, just to try and enhance them a little bit. The SAM2 machine has recently been installed. It was installed on Castle Street for the last 4 weeks. It's been gathering data to be sent off to the Highways Department, which was done today. To highlight the amount of speed and traffic within the area. We've now moved the machine onto its next location, which is on London Road, following recent reports of speed and traffic incidents happening within the area. Other reported works that are booked in currently for outsourced contractors and will be done in due course is St Peter's Church Wall, the railings and brickwork at Gentles Bridge, the railings at Gentles Field, and the common boiler signage has now been proofread and adjustments agreed, including the QR code, and this is currently in production as we speak. Conservation volunteers. The volunteers have been busy working alongside David, our town team member, through the month of September. The group have been busy clearing the side banks again of the vegetation around the Creep and Marshford site. This has been carried out to allow the site to be accessed more easily and to allow more light into the area to encourage this rare plant to thrive further. They've been doing a few surveys down there as well, and it's shown vast encouragement that the plant is spreading. So it's definitely doing the trick, some of the good work that they've been doing down there recently. The group have also continued to work hard and support the cemetery site again, including litter picking, maintaining some of the flower borders and barrels, and also looking after the pond. Fence line and litter patrols have been going on Barnum Common and checking the gates and fencing. The volunteers have also been busy carrying out some of the cutting the back of the vegetation around the Castle Park site again. So they've been trying to keep some of the pathways and the areas cleared by the steps leading up to the mound. And this just sort of gave it clear access for anybody trying to access the mound and the area. They've also been working on, again, the removal of the golden rod, which was sort of carried out as part of the management plan, and it's recommended for the site. So they've been trying to work hard on getting some of this invasive areas where it's been spreading quite vastly removed. The conservation group volunteer hours for this month, over the month of September, has equated to 38.5 hours of volunteer time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's 14 pages of report. But, really do appreciate all of that. It's quite a lot of variety as ever. And it's, great progress on a few things that have been niggling away for quite a while.
Definitely.
So I'm sure you're pleased to tick them off as much as we are. Any questions or comments? But Mike, then Matt.
Start with a fairly harmless one. I do agree that, it's a 14 pages, jokingly, but it's a really good report. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I feel much better informed. One of the issues you mentioned was bailing for the meadow, which is going on because I walked past it yesterday. I think that's excellent that we are attempting to get the growth of wildflowers allowed there, which has been stymied before because they're squeezed out. It's good also that it's a good choice to do because it's fenced off. So in general, you'd expect the public not to be walking around in it very much. However, there are gates and there are dog walkers.
Okay.
And I don't know whether it's necessary to think in terms of signage to say something along the lines of Please respect our plants, or better still, no, this is not a suitable area for dog walking.
Yeah.
To find some way of minimising the problems that are caused. There are areas which we would encourage people to dog walk in, and it's not one of them.
I didn't actually have a note on my list about dogs in there because I happened to be down there at the weekend, and it's a great area because it's fenced off
Yes.
to let your dog off and then just stand there and watch
That's exactly
half an hour. So I
Okay.
think there is a tendency for dog walkers to use it, and I couldn't see any signage. So,
Okay.
but just bear that in mind.
Yeah.
Just as an addition to that, I think that's pretty much the same all over Castle Park.
Yeah.
And this is one of the unfortunate side effects of not having any grazing animals in there. They have become a dog pound. And many people in the town will see them as a fantastic asset, unfortunately. That's, a fact. I see so many people up there go, isn't it brilliant that we can come up here without worry about them running down near kids and stuff like this. So there's two sides to this story and I don't know what the balance is. My questions were on the trees. Really, I know we've got a lot that have been fallen down or are going to be less spotted to take down. I never see any programme of replacement trees from Breckland. So what is the whole of Springwall going down towards Nuns Bridges, there are no replacements. And that's a question I think we ought to ask because we're just losing more and more all the time. I know it's not the greatest location for trees, but eventually we're going to end up with a completely stripped back piece down there.
Yeah.
So it's, whether they're willing to do it. My other question was the SAM 2. So have we got any plans for Castle Lane?
So we was going to meet with the residents down there, wasn't we? So as soon as
Yes.
we can meet with the residents and I can get some ideas of where they're thinking about siting it, I can then go back to highways and see if they'll approve the location of where we can put potentially a post along the road, because it has to have 100 metres clear with no cars parked along the sides, and it has to be a straight piece of 30-mile-an-hour road.
Yeah.
So it has to be sited particularly in certain aspects. So as soon as we meet with the residents, I'm happy to go down. If we have any details.
We can do that sooner rather than
Yeah.
later,
Yeah.
only because, I've been promising them to do something and they just go mad about it all the time. And they will say that actually the one on Castle Street isn't compliant with that. So it would be good to get it done. I'll see if we can do it next week. If we can, that'd be
Yeah,
great.
that'd be great.
Thank you. And finally, sorry.
Can I interrupt you just for a moment? I'm not sure whether we're on Castle Street or Castle Lane.
So it was on Castle Lane just recently.
Yes.
Sorry, Castle Street.
Right, yeah.
Castle Lane has been a long-standing issue with speeding. Now,
Sure it is, but is there ever 100 metres straight there that would
well,
qualify?
when we went down there with the previous highways engineer, he said there is a capability of putting it right in the middle because you can see both ways.
Okay.
Good. I think, if I'm really honest, and I think that the data that comes back from that on Castle Lane will show them that nobody's speeding. It's a big time. But it will serve a purpose because we will have helped that community and they'll just put it to bed. They'll stop saying people are going too fast. The last one was on our volunteers. I know how many have we got?
I think we're sitting at around about 12 at the moment.
Oh, that's better than I
So
thought.
we've picked up a little bit, yeah. Yeah.
There's quite a few sort of Facebook posts and that sort of thing to
Yeah, so-
encourage new people.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Yes, obviously disappointing that we haven't been able to find somewhere to locate the storage container for the river. What can is there anything more we can do about that? You think?
We're sort of trying to explore some of our areas that we have as a town council. We're very sort of limited within the town centre, apart from the sort of Guildhall, Carnegie complex and the marketplace. So I'm trying my best. I've tried with Breckland at all angles. I'm hoping Keystone may come back to me in due course. I've sent quite a numerous amount of emails, left some voicemails. So I'll keep pursuing. I'm not one to give up easily. And we'll keep trying, to support them as best we can.
I've made a separate note to have a conversation with Breckland.
On that note, do we know what their objection is?
So primarily they're saying that some of the areas they've got is obviously car parking areas, and it will take up car parking space. I've tried a few angles of trying to say there is a few areas within the car parks that it could be situated where it doesn't affect car parking space. But as a lot of things, you do have to keep pursuing with emails and phone calls, and eventually progress is made. So we haven't given up yet. Yeah.
Thanks.
Sorry, Chris, I missed you earlier on.
It's okay. Regarding the sound thing, obviously then if them restrictions apply, we're a bit of a problem putting one on Fir Road.
Yeah.
Residents would like one on Fir Road.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a
Any
speed.
particular part of the road?
If you come round in the loop.
Yeah.
You come past Oak, that's straight there. Down towards White.
Not particularly against that, I don't mind. I was going to suggest that we consider putting it on London Road where the pedestrian crossing is. There isn't actually a formal crossing somewhere there.
I put this one by there now anyway. See my friend. Okay, I don't mind going there first because of what's happened.
Yeah, I think,
I can go back and say to this, then, yes, we are going to look at putting a sand on the Fir Road.
there's no indication any of the incidents lately speed was a factor, but I think it's important that it is a busy road and the speed limit there has gone down from 40 to 30. So that would be a good reinforcement of the new speed, I think, along there.
You know, I'll give it that because sometimes in the
We'll put Fir Road on the list, but
Might be an issue with Ford Road and car parking right there. Is there ever a social distance where there are
That's
no
what
cars
possibly
parked?
people are speeding around at their rate of lights, you know, someone there got hit. Yesterday.
I'd sort of echo what Max says. I'd be surprised if they're breaking the speed limit.
When the residents take that one.
Okay, that's the point.
we've made a note, put it in the pot.
Is there a decision to be made on these parcels of land that would be?
Yeah, well, I think there's a separate agenda item. Alan and Nick have obviously grown wise to the fact that we have decisions coming from this. I'll just take all of the comments on the report overall and then we'll move on to the decisions. Any other comments, Hazel?
So thank you, Nick, for following up about the bins. And
Oh, you're welcome.
I know I'd come to you and I raised that at Bradford as well. Interesting that they said about potential for working in partnership.
Yeah,
That's good.
definitely.
And the only other thing, again, not a question, I went to turn the tap on and it's not, there's no water.
Okay.
So that,
At the water trough.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we just sent the water off for sampling, so it's gone to a lab because obviously the water's been sitting in the pipe network there for a little while, so it's gone off for testing. As soon as it comes back and we're clear for drinking water, that will all be activated. Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Just a couple from me. Firstly, just to say thank you for progressing with the Minstergate issue, although very pleased that you had the foresight to get permission to do cleaning work on all the underpasses, although you might have made a rod for your own back there. But rather than just getting one permission for one underpass, actually we can address all if we need to. So I'm really pleased about that. The bollards for King Street, I know you've spoke to the highways officer.
Yeah.
Are they going to be permanent bollards? Are they ones with padlocks?
They are potentially looking at permanent at the moment because they're saying there's an access still from Wells Street, potentially that comes into the area.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where they're progressed to at the moment. But they do realise that we have a ongoing health and safety issue there with lorries and cars just coming straight into King Street and not realising that they're going into pedestrianised zones. So they're obviously picked up that there is a high risk there now.
Can I just ask, thank you, Jim. Nick, are you aware of any commercial properties that don't have a rear access where people can, in theory, pardon me, load and unload? I mean, we get a lot of vans and stuff. And I can understand in a way the ones who want to collect money, but actually half of them at least could, I should think, use the back and not never.
We can. I mean, there's several sort of back entrances to the shopping precinct there. So you've obviously got the one near the Bell Hotel. So they've got a few back entrances there for the Riverside. You've obviously got the one down the back of St Giles's Lane. There's a car park there. So there is a access down where the lorries can deliver. So there's no excuse really for them to be using King Street. They have, most of the majority have got back entrances that they can take stock in.
So really, having just one exit and entrance seems to me will effectively discourage them because people will then have to back. And I think that will have a good effect. So I'm more in favour.
I mean, the main thing we've said to highways is as long as they liaise with the emergency services and they are aware of what they are, planning to install within the area, just so they, not going to turn up to it and then realise they can't get through. So it's the communication side that we need to definitely work on.
Yeah. You mentioned in the report about play parks and the team did awful lot of work themselves.
Yeah.
Which was, brilliant. I saw them, when I was going to work most days and then still there when I was coming home. Do you have an idea of how much they saved by doing that?
We think roughly, around about sort of £2,000.
I think if you could note on behalf of the committee, let them know how grateful we are because it was, quite a lot of hard work, but actually they saved the play areas budget and that's more money for other play areas. I think we should, make a point of that. It's very easy to outsource everything to contractors, but they took that on and, did a good job by all accounts.
Yeah.
And similarly, yourself, thank you for shopping around for the quotes for Ford Meadow. I mean, the figures there that we've saved by shopping around, what was it? It's £4,500.
Yes.
So that's,
Definitely.
more money for grazing elsewhere or cutting elsewhere. Floral displays. I've seen a lot of town councils, rather than just composting everything, giving away their summer bedding plants, particularly things like geraniums.
Yeah.
Do we consider doing that, or do we just compost it?
Yeah, I mean, we could certainly consider it going forward if, we could put this post out and see if anybody would be interested in taking them. Yeah.
Anyone likes geraniums? You heard it here first. I saw Newmarket Town Council, for example, they literally just bagged them up and put them outside the town hall and people came and took them. Just, they won't all come back next year, but geraniums will. So. We've done. And the only other thing I was just going to update on is parish partnership. I think it's mentioned in there somewhere. I had a meeting with the new highways guy for Thetford last Friday. So I took him down to Nunsbridges Road and he walked the stretch of road where we want to put our new pathway, which we've already submitted. We're waiting for the design and quote for that. And then we've approved phase 2, which needs to be submitted this autumn. And so he's looking at costing that and pricing that at the same time so we can move quickly on both issues, but continuing to press them to get on with that, because that'll make a huge difference down there. We're investing in Ford Meadow, we've invested in Spring Walk and Lady Gentle Meadow. We've got a lovely new fish path. So that loop set up there will be nice. Any final comments on Nick's report?
Just on the underpass, Nick.
Yeah.
Obviously, the one on Croxton Road have the murals made by Thetford Academy. Are the Academy going to be asked to remake them?
It's something I can potentially ask the question with Norfolk, because obviously Norfolk are the ownership of the underpasses. But I can certainly look and see if they will work in partnership with the Academy to replace and, where needed. Yeah.
Okay. So moving on to free, we've got the decisions flowing from the report. And you'll see in the report that Nick mentioned about Breckland very kindly offering us various pieces of land, either for a nominal fee or for an actual amount. We don't have a list of all of the sites and the cost. This is a sort of agreement in principle. But how do councillors feel about taking ownership of these various locations?
So my main question is, how much more is it going to cost us to maintain these areas? Because presumably they're quite happy to pass it on because they're going to be saving money on maintenance and passing that cost to us.
Yeah. As far as I know, we don't have any indication of ongoing costs in terms of maintenance.
If I can comment, but we have asked them, sorry, but they just say circa contractors on a record-wide basis. We can't break it down to those small areas, so they can't provide any figures.
There'd be something for us to consider.
Are we able to use the ID Verdi contract and get some sort of indicative figures for some of these locations?
Something we could ask.
Yeah. So ultimately, we would have to build it into our overall contract, and they're a bit more bespoke on specific jobs, aren't they?
Yeah.
Good. Mac, did you have your hand up?
No, actually no. Similar conversation, but if we're going to use volunteers perhaps on doing our bespoke gardens, some of that might disappear. The worry is with only 12 volunteers, that might become a bit too big. Lovely if it could.
So we're required to decide whether or not to recommend to full council the offer to purchase land previously identified as both pocket parks and areas to plant bulbs. Somebody like to make a proposal, or do you want me to shoot? Chris?
I'll propose it. Whatever you say.
I was like that approach.
Yeah, I think we'll go with that.
I really object to paying anything over £1 for these sites. We are doing them a favour. You know, whatever way you look at it, these are liabilities rather than assets. From a financial sense, from a community sense and environmental sense, they are assets, but not from a financial sense. So I would quite like to see the list of ones which they're offering for £1. And to review that list first, just to make sure they're not giving us anything too awful. But I wouldn't pay more than that.
Okay. So what we'll do is we won't put it for council now. We'll get that list, bring it back to committee, and then we can make a final recommendation to council.
Yeah. Let's see the price list.
Yeah.
Itemised. Colour.
I would add a good bit further on that. Not only would get a nominal fee of £1 because we pass it on liabilities, but I'd be reluctant to take them on before we actually see how much they're going to add on in costs.
Yeah.
How much is of a liability are those pocket parks going to cost?
Yeah. So we've got.
We already have a stretch budget as it is. So
We've taken on.
consider that before we make a final decision.
So we've got Hazel's point about indicative ongoing maintenance costs, and then a breakdown of locations and cost, and then we'll be able to make an informed decision. That's A. And B is to confirm the wording and siting of the memorial to be erected at or near the fish paths, and the proposed wording is included in your packs. Are you content with the wording on page 21?
Happy about the suggested sighting of the plague.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Sorry. It's been a long week.
Yeah. I missed that one. So it says, this fish fast is dedicated to the memory of Sean Reddy, who sadly died on the 10th of November 2023. Sean was a dedicated and respected champion of Thetford's river network and natural environment.
2022.
That's why we're going through this, isn't it? That was my fault. Memorial unveiled 11th of 11/23 by the Mayor of Thetford Councillor Stuart Wright. So I've spoken to Sean's mum this week. She's very happy with the suggestion. The 11th of November is the anniversary of when he passed away, which is a Saturday. So I've spoken to the mayor and he's available. So assuming we get this ordered, because they can take a while, get this ordered straight away, we will do an unveiling of the memorial with the mayor and Sean's family and friends and councillors and anyone that wants to come on the 11th of November at 1 o'clock. So you're all welcome to come. Just for the plague.
Just one question on that. On the plaque itself, what's the material going to be for it? My fear is always that somebody's going to put a brass one in and they're just a nightmare to keep clean. So if you get one of the stainless steel ones with black writing, they can be cleaned off, they can have graffiti removed from them. Yeah.
We've got a plague expert.
So that was my only thing.
No, that's really useful. Thanks, Matt. Good. Are we happy just to note that? You don't need a proposal to do that. Brilliant. That'd be really positive news story. I'm pleased to guess that.
Yeah, you say 11 o'clock or 1 o'clock?
1 o'clock.
Oh.
Because it's the Borough Ward Community Litter Pick that morning, and several councillors are involved in that.
Is that the same day we do the memorial? That's what down the cenotaph.
Yes. Yes.
That's going to be good.
Yeah. Busy day. Okay, moving on to 334, preliminary financial report for amenities, circulated yesterday, I think. Anything you wanted to add, Adam?
I think it's just two areas to note. On the income side, we finally got an indication from our consultants about what our RPA payments are. And for this year, they're only scheduled at 15,500. So you'll see that we've grossly over budgeted for that because historically we've received quite significant amounts. And they did indicate in the email that there will be a decrease in future years as well. They can't yet quantify that. So that was a little bit disappointing. I'm fairly certain that we've got a little bit of last year's that they didn't pay it all out in the financial year because apparently they paid it in July and December, and we received a little bit of money, I think, in April or May. So I'm sure that was the overflow from last year. And the only other thing that really is a little bit of concern is on the expenditure side is play parks, which is 5420. And you'll see that we've now taken up the project's expenditure. In the previous financial reports, I've put that all together. But our budget for the whole year for play parks is 15,000, and we have spent £13,304 on routine maintenance and another £2,500 on repairing vandalism. So it really is a bit of a concern because if we don't spend the money, we have to close the play park. And that has major ramifications. I mean, we closed Bergamot for a couple of, I think it was 6 weeks last year, and my phone didn't stop ringing because, and emails just came in because people were very much against that. So it's just something to bear in mind. I think we have spent a lot of money on our play parks. I think they're in pretty good shape, but we may still have to spend a little bit more than we budgeted for the year.
So from a finance point of view, now that we've reached that amount, do you, as you know, if something comes up, because we play areas, you can't predict when they're going to be damaged or get faulty, it could be at any moment. Do you have the authority just to get on and spend that money, or do you need consent somehow from a committee to upgrade that budget now?
What we'll do is we'll do a formal environment, which we'll take through finance personnel. I think there's sufficient savings within this budget to actually accommodate that. So we'll do a formal environment through up to 10,000 is the authority of the town clerk. Above 10,000, it has to be done by finance personnel. And all environments have to be recorded at a finance and personnel perspective. So we might just do a new environment budget based on what we've done and actually put that forward to finance and personnel.
Okay. And that 15k figure is the routine and the vandalism. And we've also allocated 40k from reserves, which is funding, I assume, Castle Park.
Yeah.
And how much of that 40k have we used up so far?
37,000.
Oh, no money there then. Okay. So we've overspent on one and we haven't got as much income on the other.
Yeah.
It's bad news, Alan.
It is so. I've never been Nick, but I can't.
Yeah. Well, you know, as you say, we've, our play areas are well used. It's as simple as that. And we've got, we haven't been investing in them probably much for the last 10 years, and we've got a lot of catching up to. So. With the RPA stuff, is there a way that we can break out where we spend open space maintenance money? Some of that is on things like floral displays, flower beds. I would quite like to know how much we're spending on our conservation sites like Barnham Common and compare about what we're getting in from the RPA, because they're not giving us a lot of money, but we're expending an awful lot of money as a council on this conservation work, and I think it'd be useful to track the difference.
I think we should be able to do it. The floral displays, the money we spend on floral, it's actually 2 lines up at 5415. Yeah. So this is really, it's the amount, it's mostly the contract amount that we pay to ID Verdi.
Yeah.
At Sister. So it's all the other areas other than things. I think it's Castle Park and and everything excluding the hanging baskets and a bit of work at the cemetery. So we can do that.
Yeah. Any other finance related questions, folks? The revised draft budget that went through finance, did that assume income from rural payments of 30k or 15?
I didn't get a chance to check. Okay. Sorry.
No worries. Hopefully it was 15. And do you want to do cemetery as well?
Cemetery is also is the opposite way around. The expenditure is way down, so we're not too concerned there, and I think we're not expecting anything significant to happen. But what's happening on the income side is I've been a little bit worried about whether we've got recording problems, etc. And it was quite interesting. I sat down and found a database where we actually keep track of all the graves. And activity is significantly down this year relative to what it was down last year. But we also do have a recording problem. For example, if you look at the figures for September, in the last 2 days, we have billed £6,730, which theoretically relates to September burials, but it's not included in the September figure. So I've managed to get that figure today. So we do have a little bit of a lag. So when you're looking at the statistics and saying, well, the burials are down by nearly 30%, there's also, you have to look at billing. Where was billing last year compared to where billing is this year? And I have a feeling that there will be a little bit of a catch-up because year in, we have to have all our billing done. It probably won't be as bad as it looks now. And I'll try for the October report to have all the billing done or accrued so that we get a better idea of where it is. But burials have been down in April, May, June. It was very low relative to previous years. And I have put the figures there in the narrative. So I don't know why the screen keeps disappearing at the back. Just so that you can just see what an impact it has.
Yeah. Okay, any questions on cemetery finance? No. So our task with both of those is to note the financial reports. So thank you very much for those. Alan, duly noted. And while we're on the subject of finance and cemetery, order them the right way around. Item 336, review of cemetery fees. I think this is new to most of us because I don't think I was ever on the cemetery committee when they've reviewed the fees. Was you ever involved with this? Good, you can be the expert in here. Here we go. Thank you to Kerry, I assume, that's done the work, getting the comparisons, which actually I found quite interesting going through those. Is there anything you want to add to the report, Alan?
I think it's really just a matter, it's very difficult when you go through and try to see are there trends where we're more expensive or cheaper. And yes, there are instances, but it's so difficult to work out why is that happening? So when you look at the whole price, it just depends on what the mix is, what you're gonna have in your cemetery. But I think one of the longer term decisions we have to make is the capacity of our cemetery is going to run out. And do we use the cemetery fees? In other words, look at its generational equity and say, well, the current users are getting the benefit of what previous generations paid towards the cemetery. Do they now contribute to a new cemetery? And I think it's just trying to work out, do we need to set aside a little bit of money and say, well, if we develop a new cemetery, it's going to cost however amount of money, and actually start using our fees as the basis of funding that, and just looking at it over the remaining period of time. But we haven't. It's very difficult to look at our cost pressures. We don't have significant cost pressures in the cemetery, so you can't sit back and say, well, our costs have gone up, so therefore our fee should go up, because it's not driven by that necessarily.
Anyone got any questions?
So I think regardless of whether we've got falling or rising numbers, your fees need to go up. That's just life and death. They have to go up. They can continue. Some might say that, well, we're pricing people out of being buried in Thetford. That's not what's happening at all. In fact, we're going to run out of space anyway. So I think you've got to do that. But the other thing about us is, as we know, cemeteries struggle more than crematoriums do, because that is nationally, that's what people are going for rather than burials. So what we ought to perhaps look at is some of our other memorial options that we could use. Now, whether that's memorial walls where you can put lots of different plinths in, they are really cost effective for a council. And for little outlay, we can make money out of those, which helps to refurbish the rest of the cemetery rather than relying on burials, because there just aren't too many of them. There's plenty of options out there. There's different companies come and bear them and make different memorial types, whether it's planting troughs or little walls, or they are quite popular in many places.
Okay, Chris?
Yeah, back in the day, we had a major discussion on these walls, and there were plans put forward for us to get prices for the
Oh, right.
walls. And then we had, someone came up with the idea of the Daleks, the big pepper pot things, which stood about 6 foot high, and they had trays in, and you could get 3 in, and that didn't seem cost effective, and the wall seemed to be the most cost effective thing, because you use it as a bench, sit along the top, etc. And I thought at some time we'd actually looked into how much this would cost.
Are there any locations where there are good examples of this?
Yes, so they've got them in Bury, Newmarket, Haverhill.
I think the cemetery in King's Lynn was probably worth it, because in Minden Cemetery.
The most worrying thing is 19 years isn't long.
No.
That's scheme of things,
The way things go.
Okay. Thank you, Chris. Stuart?
On the subject of King's Lynn one, that's a cemetery, it's a very pretty cemetery, but they created a rose garden for, deceased, and they just bury people or laid their ashes and put a rose and a little thing on the rose bush.
They are very expensive because the roses don't really do very well with the ashes.
Right.
And so what happens is people put the ashes on there at night, and so you end up replacing a lot of roses. And if you take a rose out, then you don't want to be putting a rose back in because it won't live. So you need, they're rose gardens, and they've had this with Bury as well. They're very difficult to maintain, and often the answer is to take all the soil out, redo it, and then put the roses in again. So it's
Right, okay.
It's, even the Walgraves Commission are moving away from them. Sorry.
So, I mean, that's slight tangent to the agenda item we've got, but what we're really looking at is a income generating options really for a future meeting. So if we make some sort of action point, Karen, around request a report around income opportunities, especially if there's been some, so if there's been some work done, we'll build on that. But as part of our role as a committee for the cemetery, we need to give that some thought. For the specific item about the fees, I would feel better if there were some comparisons with some Suffolk towns. All of them there are Norfolk at the moment, and I think having some Suffolk there to compare. And it'd be really useful if we could have an average. And then seeing as we don't have to make a decision on this tonight, because these are fees from 1st of April, I think we should be moving to benchmark our own against the average. And I'd much prefer, rather than going through this piecemeal, I'd rather have the officer's recommendation based on the average, and then we can, if someone feels strongly about a particular average, we can amend it. But the lion's share of the prices should be based on the average. Okay.
That's ready for the next meeting.
No worries. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess one thing that makes me think is it would be helpful to know where the volume comes from in each of these rows, because you can have the average for each category, but obviously if most of our burials are in one, that's where all the income's going to come from.
You happy with that, Alan?
I'll see if I can do a weighted average.
If it's not in time for November, appreciate it takes a while to get answers from some of these councils on prices, but we've got a bit of time between now and the 1st of April. I'd rather get it right rather than just tinkering around the edges. Any other comments on cemetery fees? Nothing. Okay.
I'm quite happy to do a bit of research on other memorial options, and I can bring those along if that's okay.
Yeah, that'd be really useful. Thank you. Huntington Town Council, particularly visionary when it comes to even town council run crematorium, so might be some learning from them as well. Learning from us. Okay, 337 small grants to consider a small grant application that has been previously circulated. Hand over to Alan.
As you'll see on the screen there, this is really just to deliver a popular community dinner service during the autumn and winter. It was provided in 2022 and 23 and had an average 100 people attending a week. And the purpose of this grant is really just to continue that into this particular year. And to use it as to coincide it with a citizen advice, meet the councillors and other kind of family and support. We've assessed the application in terms of meeting the criteria, and it does fully meet the criteria. It's really up to the committee to decide whether the merit of the application is deserves funding.
Anyone have any questions first of all? No. If you are minded to support, I have a proposer and seconder. Proposed by Ian, seconded by Stuart. All in favour? Thank you very much. Any against? Any abstaining? Agreed. It's just the one this month, yeah.
Just the one.
338 update on renewal of existing vehicles, to update the committee on the process to procure new vehicles, to discuss the approach suggested by officers. Is this Nick or Alan?
Finance the
He tells you what you can't have.
In essence, what we've got is we've got two vehicles which are well over their lease periods. We have battled. Typically, we would go to a public sector buying organisation and put it in, but the availability of vehicles is quite difficult. So what we've had to do is look a little bit broader. We've looked at rental just to see whether we can have a more flexible arrangement with our vehicles. So, for example, we could we use vehicles more in summer than we do in winter, so we could then kind of flex our rental options. And then it's really just a matter of just benchmarking that against what a lease would cost. So I had a chance to do a little bit of a lease. There are some vehicles available, not Fords, unfortunately, for the calendar year 2024 or 2025, the earliest that they're available. But there are other makes of vehicles similar to what we're looking for, and their leases are looking quite reasonable. So all we've done is we've just come to the committee to say, can we explore both options, look at a rental option, look at a lease option, and bring it back, because we're probably going to have to come to you for our procurement kind of thresholds that exist. We're probably going to exceed those, so we'll come back to the committee, and it's just to say that's really what we're planning to do. But the sooner we can just drive those vehicles back to somewhere near Dartford Bridge and drop them off, the better for us, because they really are old. One thing that we don't do is mileage, and that's where we will lose any of these arrangements, because the minimum is 6,000. I think in 4 years, we managed to do 12,000 miles. So we a very low mileage user, and it's whether we can get the benefit of that possibly through a rental rather than through a lease. We're just investigating. So it's really just an update on the committee. Are you happy that we just kind of go down that road, and hopefully we'll have some proposals shortly?
Include a maintenance contract with that. So the rental company supplies the van, and they will do that.
The only thing we have to do is they will cover all maintenance. So even, tyres, whatever the case may be, the only thing we have to do is have insurance. And we've organised our own insurance, so we wouldn't use the rental company's insurance for that.
Do we have any question for you, Nick? I think, are there any impacts on operations with the current arrangement? Are we not able to do certain tasks because we don't have the right vehicles?
Yeah, so it causes a little bit of sort of awkwardness sometimes with diverting jobs at the moment, because we're down to 2 vans, primarily through the summer months. Is pretty much our busy months when we like to get all the bits and pieces done around the town, all the street furniture, all those kind of jobs. So that does cause a bit of an issue. Winter time, it does quieten down a little bit. So there is a bit of flexibility potentially, because we will turn to sort of more inside work on some of the venues and bits. But yeah, potentially at the moment there is a bit of a need for the extra vehicle.
Yeah, and I suppose one of the main weaknesses with the rental option is we won't be able to have the sort of town council branded option. I mean, both our vehicles at the moment have.
They don't.
No.
Not at the moment. No.
Yeah, magnetic ones. Okay.
Yeah.
Magnetic screw.
Yeah.
Magnetic sort of sign right.
Stick.
I think that'd be worth looking into, because certainly when you go to other towns, you know, the public see their town councils out there doing stuff. Maybe that's why they don't think we do anything, because our vans aren't telling them who they are. But, I was in St Ives in Cornwall, and they had, really lovely town council branded vehicles, and it helps people know town council's up to stuff. Hello.
Can I ask, clearly, they need to be released or rented because there's no available vehicles by the time you guys have to renew. But is the intention on the future to actually acquire the vehicles then? And it's just this temporary provision. Because for the cost point of view, I was trying to figure out how many years have you guys had these vehicles leased and what was the cost? I think in the long term, perhaps more cost effective to buy the companies' vehicles and then just write them up, dispose of them or resell them after so many years, like most companies, most corporations will do anyways. It's a matter of checking the value.
I've been here long enough to remember when we did own them. Isn't that right now?
Yep.
And then somebody said we'd be better off leasing them, but do we look at cost benefit and is it worth going back to?
I don't know if it is worth it, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, it's a good question.
Is it worth putting on a scale, see whether buying versus
Yeah, it's always worth looking at it.
effective? I don't know, the price would be a matter of comparing.
Are you paying tax relief?
We don't pay tax, so.
Nice try.
I guess the final question on it is, what engines are they going to have? Is there any environmental benefits of having dual fuel? Are there any options for electric, i.e. one that does shorter runs around the town and one that has to go further? Is that something we could look at?
We can look into it.
I have included we've got the rental price list and they have included electric vehicles and.
Yeah.
That makes a good point, because there are incentives for green vehicles at the moment. Would it not by buying your own fleet for the council, if you get green vehicles, more environmentally friendly, have some sort of a break in the.
I think generally,
Yes, up to sort of reflect a little bit.
it's quite open-minded and look at all the options, is it?
Maybe they ought to sort of look around a little bit, see if there's other options. I'm pretty sure there would be.
At the time we had some town council solar panels to charge them.
And have some kind of Flintstones truck, aren't we?
Yeah. In terms of when that will come back to us, do you have an idea of when we'll be looking at a bit more detail? After Christmas, or is it more urgent?
I think it is a little bit more urgent because if we have a major repair in our vehicles, on our leased vehicles, we could pay a significant amount of money. So that's really what's worrying us.
Okay.
What are we looking at, like a flatbed truck and a transit or?
Yeah, primarily. Yeah.
It's got the tools to do the job, it's
Yeah.
And the vans.
something like that.
Okay, so we have received the update and we'll await further information on that one, but I'm quite happy with the direction. 339, confirmation of amenities long-term strategies. This flows from the full council discussion and adoption of the strategy. Alan has very helpfully pulled together this list about different aspects taken from that. Would it be helpful, Alan, what's the time? 9 o'clock, 7 o'clock. If we just went through these one by one, and then if anyone wants to comment, I think it'd be useful to get people's feedback.
At the outset, only you got the copy.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I only finished this morning, so I do apologise. That's why I just wanted to give you a heads up of what we're doing. I think what we've really done is just for full council, we went and grouped various shared or focal areas and put them in, and I just put some names: the urban renewal, development river corridor. I think it's really just a matter of I've just put some indicative indications because this is still a work in progress. It's going to take us a little while to do that. In terms of urban renewal, there were 5 strategies. One was maintain existing street furniture, and what we've done is we've looked at retaining the existing budget. I think 2 or 3 years ago, when I first got involved with amenities, we were spending a lot of money on our street furniture. It was in very poor condition, but that investment has paid off, and I think it's actually in pretty good shape. So we've kind of future-proofed ourselves by buying in a lot of stock. There's a lot of dustbins. There's a lot of, not so many benches, but there's certainly a lot of dustbins. So if we have to replace it, that money's bought, and it's bought at 2021 prices, not at 2023 prices. So what we looked at that strategy is to say, just keep it ongoing, keep it in the budget, and not necessarily grow that budget other than in line with inflation. Improve the floral displays in the town centre and estates. And that's a very difficult one because I'm not too sure what, that's very much an open check. What would you like us to do? Would you like us to look at a budget amount and increase it on an annual basis going forward? Or would you, are there specific areas that we need to do? And then we can cost that up and say, well, over, a 3 or 4 year period, that's what we can afford to do as a council. So that's one that we would like, a little bit more guidance. On C, recruit a new Thetford community warden team. I think, just in the discussions we've had to increase it by 3 staff members. I wasn't sure whether the 3 staff members included the toilet cleaner or not. So I've assumed that it doesn't. So to have a toilet cleaner that we're going to employ in-house, we made that decision at the last meeting. And then just 3 new staff members. And it's just to say, well, how are we going to do that and employ them? Develop the pocket parks. And that's also, again, quite difficult because to what extent what is our capacity to do that? And I think we've had some direction from this committee in our earlier discussion items after the next report. So we can go back and provide more information and do that. And then the last one is just develop the volunteering and planting, litter picking, and street furniture cleaning. And I think I'll give you this a little bit of thought. We're going to have to dedicate someone within the town team, maybe have a lead on street furniture, have a lead on planting, to actually develop that, like very much similar to what we have with the volunteering one on the conservation side. In terms of developing the river corridor, again, a little bit more detail would be quite helpful. Encourage the development of accessible pathway. I know we're looking at funding from the parish partnerships, whether there's other things that we need to do and what is the plan for that? Is it a 5-year plan, 10-year plan, 15-year plan? Promote local economic development. One of the issues was to keep public toilets free of charge to use and keep them open for longer. So I'm not too sure what keeps them open longer means. I know there was a discussion around the bus toilets, and that's very clear that we're going to keep that agreement in place, and we're going to continuously fund that. We have to obviously budget. There's budget implications for cleaning materials and cleaning chemicals, hopefully environmentally friendly cleaning materials and equipment. Continue the small grants. So we would look at the direction of just saying, well, do we retain the current levels in the budget? And then there was a reintroduce the medium-sized grants, and I think to develop a program around that. What do we actually? What's the quantum of money? What type of enterprises and organisations do we want to support? So we need to start doing that for the 24-25 budget. And then the climate and biodiversity emergency, continue the grass cutting regimes that we've done this year. I think they've been very successful in terms of what we've done. So we can make sure that Circa and Breckland continue doing that going forward. Ban council use of weed killers such as glyphosate. We could do that immediately, and we will do that immediately. Plant more shrubs and trees. I think that's linked to the urban renewal one. What do we actually want to do? What's the vision for that? Erect bird and bat boxes as well as bug hotels. We just need to identify areas. I know we used to do this a lot with our conservation volunteers when I joined the council way back in 2019. I don't think we do it that much anymore, but we can have a look at that. And then just insulate all town council buildings. And I've just looked at the Carnegie, the roof has been insulated, but we've got to look at our public toilets possibly, and St. Peter's Church. And St. Peter's Church is just that could obviously, hopefully, could be addressed in the Heritage Master Plan. And then support the next generation. The one issue that does impact on us is further upgrade our play areas. And we've just put aside a little bit of a strategy there. Setting aside £50,000, for example, for the next few years would give us a little bit of money to upgrade some of the play parks that are that really need a little bit of investment. So that's what we've developed so far. It is work in progress, and hopefully we can develop it for the final budget.
Okay, thank you so much for doing that. Appreciate it. Chris?
One, urban renewal. Ever since I've been on, we've been discussing the idea of community wardens. What we're talking about there is not a community warden. We were discussing having community wardens who would go about the town, taking on areas, and it's open littering, parking, etc., the same as happened in Bury St Edmunds. We had discussion, we had the people from Stone Market who came to focus on streams, Probably the group that were out. We've lost the PC, SP people, whatever they are in the town. I think it's acting a different, I think the community wards, not toilet cleaners, although we need toilet cleaners, of course, I'm not making that. You know, community wards, it's about with cameras and the power to find on the spot. Always thought that over.
Well, from my own point of view, Alan's right to assume that the new community wardens would be in addition to the new toilet staff that we're taking on. And we haven't yet written the job description for these new roles, so to an extent it's flexible. We do need to look at powers and, you know, what legally they can do, what works elsewhere. And I think it'd be really useful if one of the actions from this meeting could be arrange a visit to Sudbury, and look at what they do in Sudbury, because their community warden team is, you know, phenomenal. Appreciate not everyone will be available to go, but that's a good step forward to learn what they're doing there, because they get buy-in from their district council and their county council, put some money towards that. And to make any of this work, we need to make sure we get partners involved and contributing some money. That's going to be quite key. Talking about staffing, I could use the excuse, Nick, that there's lots of new councillors, but I don't think I know the answers myself. Could you just explain to us who the town team are, how many you've got, what they do, what's a sort of typical week for the town team? Because an awful lot of this relies on people doing things.
Yeah.
What's the current state of play?
So primarily we try and base the town team. So we've got myself heading the team. Graham is my kind of deputy, and he works alongside Thomas, who's also on the town team. So they primarily do a lot of the maintenance jobs, a lot of the fixing, the maintenance day-to-day routine, bits and pieces, report its, that kind of stuff, slab replacements, all the kind of hands-on practical stuff. Then we have David, that also works alongside the team. So he does a lot of the conservation volunteers, a lot of the sort of the community stuff. He also carries out a lot of the compliance stuff, the legal compliance stuff that we have to do, sort of as a council. So a lot of the Legionellas, the checking the fire alarms, checking, making sure that, you know, buildings are suitable for use. He does a lot of the checks around the day-to-day. So he goes around a lot of our assets and areas of land, checking, making sure that everything's compliant. And then we have Carl, who's also on the team, and he does primarily allotments. So he oversees a lot of the allotment sites, makes sure that the allotment tiers are allocated their plots. The plots are being cleared and turned over. And then he calls for assistance as and when needed from the teams for like big clearances and stuff. But the day-to-day sort of routine bits he covers on most sites and checks each day to make sure they're safe and compliant as well.
Okay. So 5 people in total, they're all full-time.
Yeah.
One of them, David, you know, building maintenance, Legionella checks, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
You know, that's quite time consuming.
That is very, yeah.
And Carl with the allotments, is allotments pretty much full-time?
Pretty much full-time at the moment, and we're doing big progress on those at the moment. So we're sort of progressing very well in the sense of getting plots turned over. But it is a work in progress. There is a lot more to do. Obviously,
He also does play parks maintenance.
he does play parks as well. Yeah.
So he does the routine checks and play parks.
Okay. So I know yourself contacting Norfolk, Breckland, whoever, is pretty much full-time job these days.
Yeah.
So in terms of your ability to get out there and actually physically do stuff is...
Yeah, so a lot of my time is sort of spent overseeing the team, making sure they're okay, they're up to date, making sure all their training's up to date. I do a lot of the property compliance, so checking all our properties are up to compliance with their fixed wiring. Again, obviously overseeing like the Legionellas, making sure that the properties are up to spec when we're sort of, you know, getting them to re-let out again. Also checking like the compliance overall in the sense of like fire escapes, all those kind of things, liaising with the contractors, getting quotes for jobs.
Yep.
And like you say, the day-to-day sort of, you know, sort of turn and fro in between Breckland and Norfolk, trying to keep things ticking over.
And presumably because the ID Verdi contract and all these other stuff, that's, you know, quite significant expenditure.
Yeah.
That takes up
It
a fair
does.
amount of time, making sure they're complying. and
Yeah.
that's- Okay. So we're looking at 2 people full-time doing all of the maintenance for town council, doing all of our shrub beds, planters.
Yeah.
Okay. And with the new people coming in, the 3 toilet people,
We said one toilet person.
one toilet person.
And then we'd use a contractor for Saturday, Sunday. That was the decision taken at the last meeting.
Yeah.
And an agency worker would possibly cover leave if they went on 2 weeks on leave.
So we're growing the team by 1 full-time with toilets.
Yeah.
Where I'm going with this is there's not a huge amount of staff team. We don't have a huge amount of capacity to do much more, frankly. So we are going to have to look at additional staff because, you know, if we want to significantly improve floor displays, maintenance of public spaces, Castle Park, we're going to need more staff.
Just a slight observation on this. One of the things we keep talking about is volunteers. And so we've got loads of different kinds of volunteers, all working in different areas, some small teams. But actually what we're missing is a volunteer coordinator. Yeah. I think if we've got somebody who does that for the council and then reaches out into all those areas, they can concentrate on not only looking after them, but also perhaps trying to grow them. And if we grow them, actually it takes some of the pressure off our town team staff. They will be able to do some of that planting, some of these pocket gardens and all the rest of it. So I think that key role is what we're missing from my point of view.
Agree. So I've been talking to Nick and Alan about Barnham Common and Castle Park following those presentations we had. We could throw £100,000 at that and still not really address the issue. I would much rather put a chunk of money into recruiting a much beefed up town team around environment and conservation. It's not specialist work that needs to be done on those sites, but you do need bodies where we have organised teams of paid staff that go out and do stuff, but supplemented with a volunteer team. Because I think there's actually, you know, we've done well with volunteers so far, but I do think there's opportunity for far more people to get involved. There's a whole variety of jobs, but we don't have the capacity to coordinate that at the moment, and I think we could do. So I would, you know, I think we need to be drafting an organisational structure that looks at, we've got a new toilet person coming in, we know what the existing roles are. I mean, the volunteer coordinator type role is spot on. And then what else do we need for us to have the time to address Castle Park, address Barnham Common, and actually start implementing some of this? And then Alan's going to work out how to pay for it. But Carlo and Terry.
I was just going to say, I think Mac's idea is brilliant. I think we really need to coordinate volunteers, and then you will attract a whole lot more people, a whole lot of more power, human power, human resources. If you actually have somebody just to oversee it, it's more cost effective to, you know, pay a coordinator than paying 3 or 4 people to do the work when you can just coordinate. That person can liaise with our organization, getting people involved with the social prescribing, which is a way of people getting out there doing things. And I think all of this needs to be considered, including the hiring of the position and how are we going to go about it before we take on those pocket bucks.
No, I agree.
Because it's only going to add on more pressure to an already overstretched team anyways.
Terry.
I was thinking of, in particular about Carl with the allotments. You were saying, Nick, that most of his time is taken up with the allotments. Yeah. I wonder if it might be an idea, especially as we're recruiting a couple of residents to sit on the allotments committee, if he was solely responsible for the allotments and by doing that takes on more ownership, works with these other guys, it makes it a more defined role.
The allotments is nodding.
Is it?
Well, I would do that. I mean, I was anti-Carl going to do the fucking work anyway, because he didn't have enough time to do his allotments. We thought it was very important at the time that the council decided to take them off the allotment.
As you said, Nick, he can call on other people when necessary.
Yeah.
And that would obviously continue, wouldn't it? You can't have just one bloke.
No. We generally dedicate each week, we say a day a week. We can try and get the team flexibility, so two people off the team can go and assist if needed.
Yeah.
So the backup is there, like you say, to assist in big removals and clearances and stuff. So
I just think it'd give it a bit more credibility, a bit more security is the word for allotment holders.
Any other comments, observations? No. there's an awful lot of funding out there at the moment for apprenticeships. And I wonder if we should get the council at least one or maybe two apprenticeships around, environment, maintenance, conservation, that sort of thing. I don't know if we're eligible for any of that grant funding, but, we're growing the team, really good time to take on some apprenticeships. And then as for the rest, we'll populate some of this over the next month, and bring it back next month. And start, because all of this will feed into the budget prep for next year. So there's quite a lot we need, Alan needs councillors to tell him what the priorities are, because we can't do everything at once, but what do you want done first? And I think given we know we've got an issue with conservation and the environment, we need to get everything ready for next year, prioritised, because, it's a big issue. Okay, I'm going to move on to feedback from Anglia and Bloom, which I think links to some of this. They very helpfully produced a report for us, which speaks for itself, and it's always nice to see the areas of achievement. They were genuinely grateful that Thetford made the effort to go over to the awards ceremony this year, and I think these things are always good to be involved and to take part, so that was good. And there's some observations there for future years, particularly the point about portfolio presentations and evidence of community involvement. So that's something that we can do in-house to massively increase our points for next year. So we need to make sure we do that for next year. And then there's the obvious one around weeds and litter. So I would quite like our beefed up town team around environment and conservation to include a whole load of volunteers with, tabards, Thetford in Bloom or whatever, and we can really crack on with these different issues ready for next year. There's, no reason we shouldn't be getting gold. Yeah, no one can ever spell my name right, can they?
It wasn't.
That was them this time. Do you have any observations, Nick, for Bloom? Because I know you coordinated the visit this year. And
yeah, no, I think it went really well. And I think, like you say, they was very impressed of how we sort of tried to develop and work alongside, and that's something we're trying very closely to work alongside, Breckland and Norfolk. And they were very keen this year to sort of get involved. So they obviously got their contractors involved, which was, really appreciated, and helped us again score the silver. But I know, talking to a couple of the officers, they are keen to work alongside us. So as long as we can give them plenty of notice and some ideas of what we're looking at, they're willing to work alongside to hopefully get us that gold.
Brilliant. Terry, you came along to the awards ceremony, meant to keep me company. Anything? I know you enjoy it. So
I think the thing to talk about was the fact that the judges adopted a very collaborative approach and were very keen for us to do better for us, as much as anything, and were very keen to work with us, weren't they?
Yeah.
To get a better outcome, hopefully next year.
Yeah.
I think it's, on the surface, it seems very doable to get a gold. I think it's only to the good that we promote these sort of things.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. Any other comments, Hazel?
So they kind of wanted us to set up so when they walk around, they see volunteers actually.
Yeah, it seems a bit staged. That's why I didn't do it, because it just seems really staged. But if that's what they want, and haven't seen what they do in other towns, that's exactly what they do. And yeah, but I didn't do that for obvious reasons. It was a very honest visit. But I think, personally, I think if we could push them to come on a Wednesday next year, because then they can meet the sex rock and roll weeding group that do Wednesdays, and the conservation group used to be Wednesdays as well, didn't it?
Thursdays now.
Thursdays now. Okay, so
We could change
either a Wednesday.
We could change it.
Okay. There we go.
The system.
But, by next year, of course, hopefully we'll have our own volunteer teams as well. But yeah, they were very keen to meet with people other than just Nick and myself. So that was a learning curve for us. We, felt weird, but we've learned from that.
It looks also like they're not just on about the gardening volunteers. So if we've got litter groups and other things associated,
Yeah.
you know, you can almost put them in one room and say, hey, go and have a chat with the volunteers.
Exactly. Because they did big up that it wasn't just about floral displays, it's about civic pride, essentially. So list picking groups and stuff would fit in quite nicely. It's particularly nice that we've got silver gilt for the environment side of stuff, because, you know, we have done a lot on that. Good. Well, that's that done for another year. Comes around. So
Apart from all the work.
yeah, apart from all the work we've got to do ready for next year. Moving on, we've got 341 correspondence to note and any correspondence received, and there was one in your packs in
I
response
think again, this only mentions.
No. Just
I've put this is the response from the Thetford Grammar School. Basically, they said to us, please do not go and pick up litter because there's needles, and they've had problems with some of their staff and doing it. They're going to speak to their needles, yeah. That type of thing. So, and basically, they're saying it's been a struggle for them. They will try kind of point their grounds crew to have a look at this. They say that they do have CCTV cameras, but when it's night and litter bins and there's no street lights or any lights at all, so it's the CCTV camera doesn't work at night. So it's really just made, I know it's quite to get a decision from here. I'll circulate this response to everyone, and maybe we can put it on the next meeting's agenda just to say, well, how do we respond to that?
They did.
I think it would be awful, wouldn't it, if people do go down there and sort of just volunteer to clean out. Don't you agree, Hazel?
They made a point in their letter about there not being any litter bin in the vicinity. And I just, in the other, what did I say? I would ask the council to consider placing rubbish bins and lighting, I'm doing that, along the path to deter drug take and litter picking that happens. And I just wondered, you mentioned in the report, Nick, that you've got litter bins in stock. Yeah. It might be difficult because that land around there is not Breckland or Town Council ownership. But if we've got a litter bin in stock, maybe we could look into
Giving it to nature.
at the very least, they've taken the effort to respond to us, which I think is good news. Yes, we can have a more formal response, but in the meantime, if we've got a bin in stock, I'd much rather it was out in the community collecting litter and put to good use. Happy with that? Yeah. Dun, dun, dun. Any other correspondence, Alan?
So that's
Good. And then with action points. Letter to be written to the Environment Agency to reduce frequency of groundwater monitoring.
your suggestion. I managed to speak to Dave Hodgson last week. He can't recall anything, but there is definitely a letter missing that we need to track. Because I say, otherwise, this is a sleeping dog lie, because if we go back to our consultants, I'm sure they're going to put up the price or use the opportunity to do that. So I'm going to spend another month looking, seeing if I can kind of source the reports. Because like I say, there is a report missing from our.
Brilliant. And that will be useful to have that conversation when we have the wider conversation about cemetery and income, because that's a significant annual cost for the cemetery. I mean, it's more than we pay for maintenance, so need to bear that in mind. Finalise parish partnership submission date for the 2024-25 year before the December deadline. We'll leave that on there until it's done.
I have written to them to see if they had followed up. So what you had done was different. I went through the administrative processes. I'm still waiting for a response.
Lovely. Angler and Bloom next year include photos of floral displays on the estates with grant money given for the purpose. Deputy Town Clerk to contact council with its raw payments done. We still don't know if we've got an actual contract or anything, do we? gremlins in the system.
There is. Yeah, it's
Ongoing.
starting going.
If we progress that a little bit, and then when we come to set the budget for next year, because that will be actually really important when we set the budget. Okay, Deputy Clerk to speak with the committee officer and burial administrator to establish the situation regarding burials. Done. We'll take that one off. To the officers to liaise with Brecon Council and Norfolk County Council to formalise this arrangement as well as any other factors such as public liability updated in town team reports.
That's
That
the
one,
Munster Gate.
yes, that one can come off. Check presentation to be generated for the Thetford Town Cricket Club. The Town Cricket Club approach on the 28th. That one's on there, still waiting.
I think that wraps up the finished, but quite a bit else.
No worries. Any other actions that we've agreed as a committee that you would like noting? None. That's good. We've got 3 going off and only 1 going on today. Next up 2. That's that one. Community engagement to discuss and agree any consultation or media release required.
I'm a bit concerned about the amount of money we're spending on damage to the parks.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's worth doing a small piece of advertising saying, as taxpayers, you know, this year it's costed £2,000 in damages that we're repairing. Perhaps with some pictures. Whilst we're doing lots of good work, this is undoing a lot. You know,
I think that would be ideal for the newsletter, wouldn't it, as well? Which is going out soon.
You follow that up with paper?
Yeah.
Thank you. Carla?
Let's just put a little note, the notice board on the website regarding the memorial for chance on the fish pass. So people
Yes.
are aware of it if they want to turn up to the open.
Yeah, I think
the black.
open invite, so
There's an open invite to the public. I mean, you as well known in town, so people might want to be part of it.
good, thank you. Committee officers update, receive any update from the committee officers since the issue of the agenda. Okay. No further items, meeting closed. Thank you very much.
I should have asked it at the time.
Just
It's not important. It was just when I was reading about the budget trees, does that include the